Let me take you back to a time when the candy industry was about to get a whole lot sweeter. The year 1920. The place, Bonn, Germany, and the man behind it all, a young confectioner named Hans Riegel. Now, Hans didn't start out with some big fancy factory or millions of dollars in backing. Nope. What he had was much more modest: a small kitchen, a bag of sugar, a marble slab, a little stool, a stove, and a copper kettle. That's it. But with that humble setup, he launched something that would eventually become a global candy phenomenon. He even named his company Haribo, which is short for Hans Riegel Bonn, his name and the city he started in. In 1922, just 2 years after founding the company, Hans came up with what would be his big breakthrough, the very first gummy bear. But they weren't called gummy bears just yet. He named them Tanzbären, which means dancing bears in German. The inspiration? Street performers and festivals where real bears would dance to entertain the crowds. Kinda wild to think about now, but back then that imagery was everywhere. These little fruit-flavored, gelatin-based candies had a chewy texture unlike anything people had ever tasted before. Kids loved them. Adults did too. And pretty soon, Hans realized he had something special on his hands. As demand grew, Hans didn't just sit back and relax. He kept experimenting, coming up with new shapes, new flavors, and improving the consistency of his gummy recipe. This was during a time when Europe was going through economic hardships. But Hans had a formula that worked: affordable, high-quality candy, and a strong focus on branding and fun. And then came that catchy slogan that's now famous around the world. Haribo macht Kinder froh und Erwachsene ebenso, which translates to Haribo makes children happy and adults too. Simple, memorable, and it worked. As time went on, Haribo became more than just a candy company. It became a symbol of joy, nostalgia, and childhood memories. By the 1930s, the brand had grown so much that it had its own fleet of trucks delivering candy all over Germany. But things weren't always smooth sailing. World War II took a toll on the company. Hans Riegel died in 1945 and the company was temporarily shut down, but it didn't end there. His sons, Hans Jr. and Paul, picked up where he left off. They rebuilt the business almost from scratch, and by the 1950s, Haribo was back in full swing, bigger and better than ever. Fast forward to today, and Haribo is a massive global operation. The company produces over 100 million gummy bears a day. Let that sink in. 100 million. That's enough to circle the planet multiple times. And it's not just gummy bears anymore. Haribo has created a whole universe of gummy candy. Rings, worms, cola bottles, frogs, hearts, peaches, you name it. They've also released sugar-free options and region-specific candies to cater to different tastes around the world. So how do they make all of this candy? It's actually a fascinating process. First, the basic ingredients: glucose syrup, sugar, gelatin, citric acid, and natural or artificial flavors. Then come the colorings. Haribo's known for using both natural and synthetic colors depending on the market. The secret sauce: precision and scale. In their massive factories, everything is measured down to the gram. They use high-tech machines to mix the ingredients into a warm, gooey syrup, which is then poured into starch molds shaped like bears, rings, or whatever form they're making that day. After a cooling and drying period, the candies are coated with wax to give them that shiny finish. Then they're sorted, packed, and shipped all over the globe. And yes, those iconic gold bags of gummy bears, they're still the top seller. Haribo now operates in more than 100 countries and has factories in 16 different locations, including one in the US that opened recently in Wisconsin. That means your gummy bears might be made in Germany, Spain, Turkey, or right here in America. And here's a fun fact: Haribo was one of the first candy brands to really embrace branded retail stores. In places like Germany, France, and Austria, you can walk into a Haribo store and find floor-to-ceiling displays of candy, merch, and even limited edition releases you won't find anywhere else. So next time you rip open a bag of Haribo, remember, It all started with one guy, a copper kettle, and a dream. From a tiny kitchen in Bonn to a global candy empire, Haribo isn't just about sweets. It's about imagination, consistency, and staying true to something simple, spreading happiness, one gummy bear at a time. Follow for more stories about how everyday things came to be and the people who made them happen.